Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase, pricing, and availability questions concerning this watch. Everyone's into the Royal Oaks, the Nautilus, the Aquanaut, the steel Rolex sports watches. I like the weird stuff, and this definitely qualifies. Launched in 2007, and the shape weren't weird enough. The watch is made of palladium, a rarely seen platinum family metal that is precious and hallmarked. So this is literally the Ulysse Nardin Macho Palladium. If you didn't know, this is for macho men. You know now. The watch uses the form factor of 2006's UN 160 anniversary chronometer. I've always suspected that this follow-on was designed to make something of the tooling created expressly for that limited edition. But it also joins watches like the Audemars Piguet Millenary among the very few oval profile watches of the modern era. So we'll take a look at how big it really is on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist. First, 43 millimeters is the nominal diameter, so that's the distance from 9 to 3, not including the crown. Taking a quick look in profile, it's really thin at 11 millimeters, thinner than you'd think, but broad at 52.2 millimeters lug to lug, with a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Taking a look at the case back, you can see there is a little bit of a curvature to it, like an RM tonneau, and the watch wears long down the wrist. It is broad, though. Unlike a millenary, which tends to be more long and then short across the wrist, this is both long down the wrist and broad across the wrist. So taking a little look here, I'd say I recommend this watch for a wrist of my size or larger. So if your wrist is 16 centimeters and flat, good to go. If your wrist is a little bit smaller, it's going to be more touch and go. But it will fit easily under a cuff, no issues there. And it has a smooth, seamless bezel because this case is a monoblock. Taking a look down the barrel one more time, over the top. Lovely strap here. We've got large and medium rectangular scales, fairly symmetrical, gloss black. You can see sheer cut edge with a monotone stitch and lacquering of the sheer cut for refinement. The profile that conforms to the lug is dramatically bolstered, and there might even be an insert of some kind to make this a completely seamless mating. If you look very closely, you can see a gap between the lug and the case. The lugs, as well as the center plate, are actually part of a modular assembly. So the case and the lugs are made separately. And as you can see, there is a very obvious gap between them that allows the case to be quite beautifully finished in a differential fashion, polished straight next to satin. Here's the monoblock factor I talked about. There's a differential finish, polish and satin, but you can see it's all one seamless bezel that runs into the mid case. There's no separate bezel that lowers into place. Everything loads through the back of the watch. The lugs feature a little bit of a fluting, and you could see from end on that there's a bit of a dip in the bezel at 9 o'clock and 6 o'clock. This is a very complex shape, and it's got a little banana-like curvature to it with a crystal to match, which could not have been cheap to make. Taking a look at the crown, you can see the little lacquered Ulysse Nardin logo with the nautical anchor to remind you of Ulysse Nardin's fame as a timer for marine activities in the 19th and early 20th century. This is very white metal. It's not like white gold, which tends to be sort of warm in color, a little bit yellowish. This is like platinum. This is blindingly white. On the dial side, lots going on. So I would say there's a little bit of Frank Villa to this dial, and that's not a bad thing. But it's got an interesting combination of colors, textures, tones, and focal planes. Broadsword style hands in the middle. We'll do a quick loom shot because there is some loom and it's worth mentioning. Even the loom shot of this watch is a bit weird. There's a module on top of an ETA 2892A2 base. It is chronometer spec. The module gives you the addition of a power reserve indicator for the 42-hour power reserve, small seconds, and then we've got a date down at the bottom. All of the standard 2892 features are present and correct, including hacking seconds, as well as a quick set function for the date. And then there's the power reserve indicator up the top, which is part of a complication module that adds the small seconds and the power reserve itself. Now, if you look at how this is moving, you see how the hand itself is stationary and then the scale moves. So it's a very unconventional power reserve that's a little bit like the one Patek Philippe used on the 3710 Nautilus Power Reserve. Not exactly the same, but it's interesting to see the scale moving while the hand does not. As you can see, we've got applique indices and tri-Arabic numerals, azurage within the small seconds display, brushed metal We also have this dramatic step from the sunburst blue center to the black outer dial. And then there is a screw-down crown, which is a little bit unconventional, but a 50-meter water resistance and a screw-down crown means theoretically on a different strap you could surface swim with this. We have a buckle that is also precious metal palladium. You can see Ulysse Nardin. It uses ceramic spring-loaded pin snaps so that the metal can't wear down the pin snap over time. It will remain snappy, so to speak. We've got a twin trigger release system for security, the UN logo and anchor, and you can see that this is also PD 950 hallmarked to match the watch. Turning it all over, we've got a lovely engraved and lacquered 22-karat white gold rotor, bidirectional winding, 4 Hertz beat rate, hacking, quickset, power reserve. You got the 42-hour power reserve via a single barrel. In this 38 jewel movement, that includes the base caliber as well as the module. It goes by the name Ulysse Nardin, caliber 27. You can see the single barrel for those 42 hours of reserve, beaten away at 4 Hertz. The barrel is solarized. We have circular Cote de Genève on the bridges, polished as well as blackened screws, and a solarized center to the ball bearing. There are some elements here that are artisanal, but for the most part, they're not. You can see that the rotor is the focal point. The movement, however, is in a very high spec as a chronometer, 5-position adjusted and tested for 2 weeks. And that includes to temperature, the different positions, and for isochronism. You can see palladium 950. Something you will rarely see. I would even argue that as of today, it seems like there are more sterling silver than palladium watches in circulation. So if you want something that's different in every way from a cool brand with a lot of upside going forward, Ulysse Nardin is a place to look. Reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.